everyday mystic. Um, Again, I'm going to ask if you like these, share them. There's a reason for them. It's more than just to hear me waffling on, it's a message. It's a sorely needed message, which is why I do these in the first place. That we need to see a bit more clearly. And anything I've learned to see, I like to share. It's that simple. So, if you like them, share them. Anyhow, this morning I thought I would have a look at a Japanese concept called Bushido. Now, my martial arts friends watching this will get something out of it because Bushido is the way of the warrior in direct translation. Bushi being the warrior and Do being Japanese for way. So let's start there. It's the way of the warrior. For martial artists, you might get one thing out of it. What about regular folk who aren't martial artists? Well, you should get something out of it too because life is a martial art. Life is a series of battles usually fought with yourself. So, winning at life is learning to defeat yourself and learning to win in the process. That's a paradox you can get your head around when you get a chance. In Bushido, there are 7 concepts. There's Gi, Yuki, Jin, Rei, Makoto, Meiyo, and Chugi. Gi is justice, it's right action. Yuki is that heroic valor and courage. Jin is compassion. Rei is respect. Makoto is sincerity. Meiyo is honor. And Chugi is loyalty and duty. Now, when we think of the samurai, we tend to think of the loyalty and the duty part as being paramount. But in truth, all of the elements had to be present for you to be a proper warrior, proper bushi, proper samurai. And yes, there is a slight difference between bushi and samurai. Samurai tended to be from the more noble houses, and bushi was pretty much anyone with a sword going into battle. So in the movies, we tend to see the samurai as these very honorable, very serious, very courageous, detached individuals ready to die for their lord at a moment's notice. And that was part of the Bushido, but that also meant that they had to be ready to live at a moment's notice, because you can't be ready to die at a moment's notice unless you're also ready to live in the same way. And being ready to live is being completely at ease, living without tension, living without any kind of hesitation, so you're free to act in the moment. And this is what the samurai looked for. They looked for the freedom to act in the moment, knowing that the way they were acting was going to be in harmony with who they were because of the other principles that they lived by. And this was the detachment that samurai were famous for. It wasn't, becoming detached so that I could die. It was becoming unencumbered by anything, even thought, so that I could do what was needed in the moment. Now, what was needed in the moment could be making a damn good cup of tea, or lopping some poor unfortunate's noggin off. That's the way it goes. But can you imagine if you could see a life of where you lived in clarity, where seeing everything for what it exactly was and in the moment, that the freedom that that would bring you. In that material sense, it brings us is fluidity. It removes tension, hesitation. It takes away doubt and allows me to move freely. So in that sense, it means that as a martial artist, I have no hesitation in my technique and it works much better. When I'm talking about life, it's the same. I see things and I act properly. I act in accordance with my conscience, but I act without any tension or frustrations or headaches or without any hesitation in what I'm doing because I know it's the right way to act. And life can be like that if we want. We can be free to do whatever it is we need to do, and that freedom allows us to do it better. Because if we engage in the act fully, we focus on it fully, and we let go of our attachment to the world around us to just do whatever it is we're doing, we remove all our distractions. We give ourselves over to the task, mind, body, and soul, and by doing that, we allow ourselves to pursue excellence. So we become better at doing what it is we're doing. We also get to watch ourselves doing what we're doing because we're not distracted. So we can be in the background. Think of it as being like the sage in Eastern traditions or in Jungian tradition. The wise old man sitting in the background, or wise old woman, depending on what your preference happens to be, sitting in the background, looking at me doing these things and going, yep, that's acting in accordance with who you are and how you're supposed to live. And how am I supposed to live? I'm supposed to live in accordance with my conscience. That's something we'll get back to. So then we process every event thoughtfully. We know that if what we do is in harmony with our conscience, that's where the Bushido comes in. Because those 7 aspects help us determine how we should live in a way that not just benefits us, but benefits those around us, benefits every situation we find ourselves in. Why wouldn't it? Acting with honor, acting correctly, doing things with courage, knowing your duty to yourself, to your family, to your job, to your peers, to your friends, to society, having a duty. All those things, they're all perfect examples of how to train our conscience. Having compassion, Jin, is my personal favorite. I think if you have compassion, almost all the others flow from your compassion. I suppose at that, if we have compassion, we need to think less in terms of right and wrong. We already know what right and wrong are simply by understanding what is the best outcome based on our conscience. And our conscience is the main steering, guiding force. And it's something that's put into the background too often these days. As I get what's mine, get what I can, take, ride roughshod over other people. And this is what a lot of society would have us do, is look after myself and bugger everybody else. That's not living, and that's certainly not living a life in harmony with your conscience. It's certainly not Bushido. It's not a way to live that will make you proud of who you are. And being proud of who one might be or might become isn't a negative thing. Pride goeth before a fall and all that. Taking pride in being a decent human being, in caring about other people, that is actually a way of teaching your ego how not to behave. It teaches us how to change the dynamic, change the ideas of who we are and what we are and how we behave towards other people, and helps us live in harmony. And if we live in harmony with our conscience and live according to what our conscience tells us, we venture from Bushido into Taoism because you're following your path. Doesn't matter what your path is, it just matters that you have one and that you adhere to its principles. Go back to Bushido for a second again. Take the principles of Bushido and apply them to your life in your way. That's your Tao, your path. It doesn't mean that you get to behave in any way you like and say, well, it's just me and this is just the way I am and this is my way. It's this is my way, but I temper my way because I understand that my way also impacts on other people. So you can't just ride roughshod over people anymore because you realize it may be my way, but it's not a good way. It's not a way that shows compassion, shows jinn for anyone. So if we live by our Tao, our path, then we live accepting life as it comes, accepting life as it happens, living it freely, living it fully, and not having any hesitation in how we live our lives. What I see in the moment is basically all there is. I base what I see on what I've learned, my experience. I base my tomorrows on my todays and my learning of what I plan to do. But in the moment, I behave in a particular way completely freely. And because I can do that, because there's only that moment, I can make those choices in the instant based on my conscience. So I understand that no matter whatever the outcome may be, I'm living in harmony with that conscience, with myself. And if I live in harmony with myself and I live in harmony with other people, I will live in harmony with the world around me and live in harmony with the universe itself. And when I get to that point, I have learned an important lesson. The choices I make come freely, without doubts, hesitation, tension, and life flows smoothly. And then we move into the concept of Wu Wei. I'm getting out of my own way, freely flowing. And this, I have discovered, works really well. I flow in life. It's Bruce Lee's concept of being like water. Wasn't to become anything, it was to flow, to not be encumbered, not be inhibited. The river meeting the obstacle just goes around it. It just, oh, there's an obstacle. Okay, that's behind me now. Good luck. So we flow. And that is Bushido. That is Tao. That is Wu Wei. That is Jin. That is compassion. That is living freely. All of those things, all those Eastern concepts trying to get their head around the idea of being a decent person makes life easier. And yes, I'm well aware that people have said to me, but it makes you more vulnerable. It means that you can be taken advantage of. It only means you can be taken advantage of if you don't apply a brain. I am compassionate, but I'm not stupid. I am honorable, but I'm not gullible. So that's the pause, and that's the acceptance. You accept that some people are not going to live up to the same standards that you do or want to, and you give as much to them as you are able to give without it costing you more than you're prepared to give. But you've already made that trade off in your mind and in your soul because you've already filtered everything through your 7 concepts of Bushido. Have a good day.